Hey there, Tammy Davis, aromatherapist, phytotherapist, and integrative health consultant with a specialty in mental health, and primarily because health of our brain affects the health of our body. And I've devoted a good portion of my life to working with essential oils and studying drug development as plant constituents are applied to the mechanism of action. Now, that said, today I want to talk about a very specific plant constituent called 1,8-cineole, and the reason for that is primarily because, well, nature communicates through chemicals. Chemicals have shapes, and they have an ability to regulate, whether that be activate or deactivate various functions. And it doesn't make any difference if it's natural or man-made. A chemical is a chemical, which means water, it means air. That means your medications, whether it doesn't make any difference what you're taking, or if you're using essential oils and or taking herbs and supplements. These are all chemicals. You may say that, well, human beings don't talk with chemicals, but we actually do. The reason we are able to articulate words is due to a very specific genetic complex known as primarily for its relationship to speech and language, but it also is a transcription factor, which means it's regulating our neurochemistry. So that said, essentially, we're all talking with chemicals or as a result of chemicals. And so in the case of 1,8-cineole, this is actually very important. It's very important for all chemicals because, as you know, even if we're going to talk about communication on a verbal level or a nonverbal level, we can run into altercations. Not everything goes smoothly. There may not always be ease and order to what we're trying to say. The same thing can be said for the chemistry within our systems. We can even see it happening throughout nature. So when it comes to 1,8-cineole, 1,8-cineole was originally identified in eucalyptus. Now, I want to say a couple of things about eucalyptus, as with rosemary and thyme and lavender. There are various species of plants, and so not all of them, their chemistry is not the same, okay? And this is a result of external influences that affect their chemistry. It also, whether that be from the air or from the soil. And so not all eucalyptuses are the same. But what I want to say is 1,8-cineole was identified, I believe, originally through eucalyptus. It's also found in rosemary. It's also found in helichrysum. There's a number of oils that contain 1,8-cineole. Now, a lot of these chemicals have been patented, and because they've been able to isolate them and replicate them in order to maintain a level of consistency, meaning, it's quality control, basically, right? And so, what happens with these patents is they're being used for various purposes, whether it be in medications and or supplements. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting the 1,8-cineole. Now, the reason why this is even a big deal, you probably, if you're familiar with oils, you know that eucalyptus is a great decongestant. It's good for respiration and so forth. Well, and mucus. That is one of the applications of 1,8-cineole, and that's one of the reasons why, or probably the primary reason they've been able to replicate it and consistently use it, is for these purposes. Now, the challenge with that is when it is used in tandem with certain medications. High blood pressure medication like verapamil, I think that's how you say it. So if I said it wrong, please forgive me. There's also some antibiotics, and I will list them out here. I could sit here and try to struggle through the words, or I can just type them out for you, and you can actually take a look at the list. But what I will say is these particular medications inhibit the enzyme that is used to break down 1,8-cineole. Now, 1,8-cineole has a number of, in the natural sense, has a number of, when combined with in oils, a number of effects on the body, as I mentioned, just a few of them. And again, I think what I'll do for you is actually create a document, a PDF that you can actually download and print. And it'll show the medications that's contraindicated. So that they're contraindicated with, and how you want to use some caution with them when it comes to even using essential oils. Again, like I said, there's a number of medications that are known to inhibit the enzyme that is used by the body, that the body uses to break down 1,8-cianol in order to eliminate it, to use it and to eliminate it, the metabolites. But when you use them together, how that's going to affect you remains to be seen, because your body is your body. What's very interesting to me is I was speaking with an Amish man the other day, and he was asking me some questions, and the way I explained it to him is that there's no two bodies the same, and that I have to know what the medications are he's taking. I have to hear specifics about him in order to be able to guide and support him or serve him. And so his comment to me was, well, that makes total sense, because there's billions of people on the planet, and how can everybody be the same? Nobody can tell how one medication is going to affect everyone. We can't even predict how one oil is going to affect everyone. And when you start combining all of these things, this is where the communication breaks down. So like I said, in the case of 1,8-cianol, there are medications that inhibit the enzyme that is known to break it down and help eliminate it from the body when it's no longer being needed. But if you use the combination together, how that's going to go in your particular system remains to be seen. Now, here's an interesting thing. Adverse reactions aren't necessarily always immediate. This is the reason why I advocate for understanding long-term use of particular essential oils, or long-term effects of anything. Because a lot of, we used to make jokes when my kids were little about silent but deadly. We understand that sometimes there may not be anything happening. There may be a deactivation that is happening in your system that, let me back up a minute. Whether a gene is activated or deactivated, and I've covered this before in other videos, when we take 23andMe tests, and I'm sorry to isolate that one, but there's other DNA tests that are occurring, and we get these results from certain websites that you can plug in your raw data, and then they plug it in, and then it's not 23andMe that's doing it. There's other ones that are producing the final test. Where you get the green, red, and yellow, if you've seen them. And we equate green as good and red as bad. I mean, that's just where our minds go. But the interesting thing is, an activated gene, that one that's on consistently, can actually be leading to problems, as in the angiotensin II receptor. If that's on full board, you're probably borderline, if not already, into high blood pressure. That's just one thing. You will also have gluten and issues. So that's an activated gene. So being activated or deactivated is not necessarily good or bad. The body's constantly flipping switches in order to regulate its own chemistry. So if we were to combine too many things, or too many things that are certain things that interacted with one another, we could inadvertently be activating something or deactivating something on a long-term basis that chronically will result in some kind of health breakdown. So it's very difficult to predict how anything's going to go, and I don't mean to complicate matters for anyone watching this. It's just a matter of understanding, number one, what you're doing as far as, minimally, and beginning to pay attention to, and really getting someone to help you. I know that we like to do things and we like to take care of ourselves, and I realize that a lot of things become rather expensive over time. So at least getting some minimal guidance and using as the least amount of products and chemicals as possible, because trust me, guys, as you know, we are exposed to so much that, and I just noticed I was shaking my head when I said trust me. That was a bad message, wasn't it? Anyway, I'd like for you to understand that we are exposed to so much, and we don't necessarily have to understand how every single oil works, but if we're combining oils and we're combining supplements and we're combining medications, it's okay to take a break. It's okay to change things up. And most importantly, don't duplicate mechanisms of action. I mean, don't pile everything on to be all doing the same thing. create some balance in there, actually help stabilize the digestive system. You do that and you're already worlds ahead of anybody else. But really try to pay attention to, again, duplicating actions and learning how to minimize the amount that you use, and be looking for products, especially if in this case, if you're using respiratory products that might actually contain 1,8-cineole and you're also combining it with other medications, that's not recommended. So like I said, I'm going to put a list of medications on here that inhibit that particular enzyme so that you can begin paying attention to whether you should be using oils that contain 1,8-cineole. And what I'll do, again, is put it in a document that you can download and print. All right, be sure to let me know if I can answer any questions for you, if there's something specific that you'd like to know more about. You're also welcome to follow me at Tammy Davis 8 on Instagram and at Tammy Davis 8 on Twitter. My email is tammy@synergessence.com, and I look forward to interacting with you again. Thanks for watching. Bye now.